Good afternoon, all, and welcome to the webinar. Thank you for joining Proximity, your premier partners for IBM solution support and development. And if this is the first time joining us today, welcome to Proximity. Whatever your IBM requirements, we're in your corner. My name is Andrew Nicholson, General Sales Manager here at Proximity, and I'll be your host for today's session. Now, you'll notice on the left-hand side of your screen is the toolbar. Here you can raise your hand and ask a question. We'll keep a review of these during the webinar, and any questions asked will be answered during the Q&A session before the end of the webinar. Now, obviously, I'm broadcasting from home, so if you hear a dog barking in the background or the occasional shrill voice, don't worry, this is all perfectly normal. With this in mind, pull up a chair, grab a hot cup of coffee, as we are about to begin. Today, we are delighted to announce that Proximity has signed a partnership agreement with Utilities 400, and in doing so, have expanded our IBM solution portfolio through the addition of the enterprise suite of products dedicated to I. In this session, I'm going to be providing you with an insight into their integration and automation enterprise suite. Within this suite, there are 4 key solutions built from the ground up with the modern IBM enterprise in mind. We'll start with RouteOne and iRoute. RouteOne being the solution that allows you to extract meaningful information from your IBM, transform it to a format of choice, and distribute it by multiple means. iRoute is the mirror of RouteOne and captures data from a mix of databases and file types and passes this data to your enterprise with full validation. Then we'll discuss other methods of data automation, first using iKeyer. No, it's not that pack furniture, but indeed a powerful solution that allows you to automate data entry via the 5250 session using a virtual terminal. Finally, we have Proactive, their rules-based workflow automation solution that utilizes native IBM triggers. These solutions deal with the perennial problem of getting data in and out of a box and automating the in-between. Now, I think we can all agree that our favorite black box is perhaps the best mid-range transactional platform available. However, due to its security and architecture, it does raise certain problems when businesses legitimately want to access, automate, or integrate data in a manner that's easy to manage and, of course, meaningful to use. So that's where these solutions come in. Put very simply, it's about your data, and we believe it should be your choice on how to use it. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, as the IBM can seem to be a closed box and therefore difficult to access and leverage said data, we need solutions and methods to fill those technology gaps. Let's start with inputs and outputs. First, we can collect and pass external data types to the IBM with full validation. Secondly, we can extract and transform data within the DB2, the spool file, and distribute appropriately. Let's take a look at this in a little bit more detail. Now, we believe getting data into your IBM should be secure, but straightforward. In addition, you shouldn't have to have multiple programs or products to manage and support multiple file and database formats. We should have one solution that can manage the lot, and this one product should not just accept multiple formats, but have the means to pass data received by multiple methods. So a file attached to an email, polling an FTP or network folder, a cloud location, or indeed more. Equally, we should be able to get the data out of a box and deliver it to who needs it, when they need it, and in a format of choice, mirroring the multitude of file formats and methods we usually enjoy for receiving the data. And that's where our first 2 products from Utilities 400 Enterprise Suite come in. RouteOne for your data export requirements and iRoute for data import. Let's first explore RouteOne, your solution to extract, transform, and distribute data to who wants it, when they want it, and in a format of choice. First, it's a multimodal solution that can manage many multiples of data extracts for many purposes. But for all its power and flexibility, you don't need RPG skills. With RouteOne, you create definitions, which are a query-like language that allows you to extract, transform, and distribute meaningful information quickly. Now, more detail on extract, transform, and distribute. Exactly from where, transform to what, and what methods of distribution do we have? Well, first, we can send data to a multiple database types, from data in the DB2, the spool file, or indeed a mix of both. So if you have, for example, an MRP system running on Access or Oracle databases, then you can update the tables with relevant data from your IBM I enterprise using RouteOne. Need a data warehouse building within an SQL? It'll be RouteOne that manages the ETL routines. Secondly, RouteOne can transform data from the database spool file or a mix of both to multiple formats. So, need a formatted form in a PDF? Well, RouteOne can do that. A detailed report with charts and graphs? RouteOne can do that also. It's not just about getting data from the system, it's about making data meaningful too. But it's also about getting the data to who needs it, how they need it, be this a report in an email, sending the XML via FTP or secure FTP, directing a form to a printer, a fax, or alerts even by SMS. And all this can be automated to be triggered on an event, scheduled, or indeed polled. Let's have a look at some real world examples on how RouteOne can help. Take this example from a customer who wanted to build an external SQL from multiple loads from various IBM I databases for distribution analysis. Now, using conventional client-server technology, this build took over 60 hours to complete. Now, for a fast-moving goods company that needed to analyze daily trends, this simply wasn't acceptable. Through the introduction of RouteOne, however, using the low-level socket technology, the FMG chain store company reduced this time to less than 5 hours. Not only this, but should a transmission fail, a power cut or hardware fail, for example, they can pick up from that fail point and not have to restart. But of course, RouteOne is a multimodal and can transform the same data set and distribute it to different people, customers, suppliers, partners, as you see fit. So in this case study from a well-known logistics company, each day the manager of the distribution department wants his data as a report in a spreadsheet for him to use and edit as he sees fit. That's him at the top there. However, second down from him, his team members just need an updated summary information. So in this case, RouteOne refreshes the table within a formatted Microsoft Word document. Customers, on the other hand, wanted a static document of a summary of movements and costs and associated details that they can review and store. So PDFs were emailed accordingly. In fact, depending upon the customer, there are a mix of PDF and XLS that we could add rules to the procedures to generate and send accordingly. And let me tell you, there are literally thousands of these created and sent every day using RouteOne. All this from one data source, transformed and distributed using the logistics company own business logic. Finally, for their partners, enterprise systems, RouteOne exports pertinent information into XML direct to their intranet too. Using RouteOne allows you to consolidate the individual pieces within your IT jigsaw. Maybe you have different products to do this. There are many different areas RouteOne completes. Perhaps there's disparate code written in a bygone time that's uncommented or unsupported. RouteOne provides you with the opportunity to remove, replace, and upgrade all these elements within one fully supported and easy to manage solution. Not only is the product quicker than conventional technologies, but Through using RouteOne, the average IT team could be up to 15 times more productive than RPGing these alone in a similar routine. In summary, RouteOne extracts your data from the IBM spool files, the DB2 database, or indeed a mix of both. On extraction, it will then transform into multiple file and database formats, depending upon the rules you define. These can be set to be triggered on command or automated, and then distribute to who needs it, when they need it, securely and at speeds far greater than using traditional methods. So remembering that RouteOne does all you need to get meaningful information from the box, iRoute is the mirror of this product and completes all the imports for the external systems, capturing data in multiple formats from external file locations, emails, databases, and passing this into your IBM I Enterprise with full validation. Let's explore this a little further. Now, this may sound similar, but like RouteOne, Utilities 400 have designed iRoute to be a multimodal solution for all your data import requirements. Like RouteOne, no RPG skills are required. You tell the program what you want to extract, from where, when, and what to update in the IBM I, and then it's ready to go. To ensure system integrity, you can add your own validation logic to the pass procedures. But what can we capture and how? Well, first, iRoute can capture data from various databases, including Oracle and SQL Access and the like. And on the data format types, these can include the likes of XML, XLS, HTML, readable PDFs, spreadsheets, and pretty much anything in a structured format. iRoute captures these database sources and file types through direct network connections, IP, FTP, secure FTP, and email too. And these can be both as an attachment and, of course, in the body of an email, as long as it's structured. And it captures these through a combination of location existence checks, checking email receipts for particular strings in the subject, attachments, for example, or scheduling the automation and polling of locations depending upon various rules. But collectively, what does this mean for the business? Well, three pertinent examples. The first being automated upload, validation, and pass of data from externally generated reports and spreadsheets, XLS and other formats, perhaps. Now, perhaps you have a bill of materials generated from a manufacturing system that needs importing to your IBM I Enterprise. Or perhaps their stock movements or sales updates. Perhaps it's a spreadsheet that originated first on the IBM I, got sent out, modified by relevant people, and needs these changes reflected again on the system. iRoute deals with all of these issues. Then there's the option on being able to integrate with external databases, with the option of bi-directional messaging. So receive dynamic information from external systems and be able to reply, using RouteOne, of course, with the appropriate data response. Or simply have the ability to receive orders, no matter how they appear. So customers may be sending these by a PDF attachment to an email, an XML placed within an FTP folder, or a shared updated spreadsheet. iRoute can capture this information and, depending upon the source, will trigger the appropriate rule to validate and pass to your enterprise. Let's take a quick look at such an example in action. Here, No Mean Feet Sportswear are receiving electronic orders from their two big customers, John Lewis and Sports Online, plus their Amazon store. Now, these two, John Lewis and JD, being the big customers, they dictate how they're going to send the files to you and how they're going to be sent. But that's not a problem for No Mean Feet, as they're using iRoute to act as the conduit between the external data sources and their IBM I Enterprise. Now, not only can they accept multiple file formats by multiple methods, but also apply validation routines through existence checks, value ranges, and the like. Once past validation, iRoute can automatically update the relevant tables on the database. However, as no mean feat are using a supported IBM ERP and there are no interface files, to avoid invalidating their licensing agreement, they're using IKEyer to update the tables. Now, IKEyer is Utilities 400 intelligent virtual terminal automation technology, entering details via the green screen without manual intervention. And on successful update of the database, or indeed failed validation, we can use RouteOne to notify the customers of the results. Now, we don't have to use the virtual terminal, and in most cases, a customer may wish to write directly to the database or interface file from the iRoute engine itself. However, in such cases as these we would recommend adding multiple levels of validation. In this case, we're not only running the standard acceptance rules, but are adding a credit check layer to the customer to pass before passing the data to the database tables. And fail or pass, we can notify the customer of the results and ask them to check and resubmit if necessary. So within the previous example, we used RouteOne to send the information back to the customer, iRoute to capture information from the multiple formats and pass to the enterprise. Where interface files were not available, we used iKeyer to enter the captured data via the green screen, and Proactive to monitor updates on the database and trigger the responses. And it's with these final two products that we'll conclude the webinar, starting with iKeyer. First, as alluded to before, it's not flat pack furniture from Sweden. It simply does exactly what it says on the tin. It keys data into the IBM I, but it does so in an automated manner. It will listen for instructions, and when received, depending upon the rules you've provided, it'll go about its job. No manual intervention is required, and as such, it'll run tirelessly 24/7, 365 days a year. As everything is passed through the 5250 session, security and validation is baked into the process. Speaking of which, processes can be recorded or scripted, or indeed recorded and edited within the script manager, and it's there that you can add rules and flows to ensure smooth operation. But what do I mean by this? Well, as you enter the data into the green screen, the program responds and displays data accordingly, a window or a new screen, depending upon what's been entered. So let's say we're entering data from an invoice we received from a customer. Well, no problem, until we realize that the data we've received has the date in an American format. So on submission, a pop-up window is displayed with input value field not recognized, or some kind of text is equally helpful. Now, we'd hope that a human would be able to pick up on this, and with a modicum of intelligence, be able to turn the day and month input characters around to reflect the UK date time formatting. With IKEyer, you get this same intelligence. We're able to look and accommodate for these idiosyncrasies, be this a date range, an existence check, or some other variable. We can add intelligence that will automatically correct, or depending upon the error displayed on the screen, will correct and add the appropriate data or commands accordingly. So with IKEyer, in cases where we receive digital information, we can remove the need for data entry. There's now no need to have arduous manual entry from spreadsheets. This can be all automated. And as we're using the 5250 session, security and validation is baked in with full audit trail recorded too. This not only adds up to improved processing speeds and saved resources, but we also remove pilot error too, improving data accuracy. Further ways of improving data accuracy and speeds would be through the implementation of workflow, and we have a solution for that also. Proactive allows users to implement an intelligent approach to workflow automation without modification to existing systems. Workflows can be automated depending upon a change in a single or multiple database fields. So, existence or change, a particular value range, It can also run SQL statements, execute programs, and pass parameters from the before and after image. It's multifaceted too, so you can tier workflows depending upon parameters and rules, running multiple workflow automations within the one process. So how could this work for you? Well, let's take a look at a very basic example to give you a flavor. Here we have a customer who's using Proactive to automate restocking within the warehouse. We'll look at just one process they set up for this. Here, Proactive is monitoring stock levels, and we're asking Proactive to trigger the minimum stock quantity process should stock levels in a particular location fall below 6. So now in bin 1, we have only 5 items. As Proactive is constantly monitoring the value, as soon as it's changed to below 6, the workflow is activated. In this case, we've asked that we activate RouteOne to send an email and or SMS to the shift supervisor to alert them to the issue. But there's more, as we can multi-tier processes. We can add another rule to the process. In this case, we've also added a caveat that if the minimum stock quantity is less than 3, then, as there's potentially material urgency, I'm going to automatically create a sales order for this item. And that's Proactive to look into the supplier database and identify the supplier that carries the item we need. Now, as each of these candidates provide the item at a different price and lead time, we have set up rules to order based upon lowest cost. In this case, as MSQ is lower than 3, then I'll ask Proactive to identify this and proceed with the PO based upon the supplier, not with lowest cost, but as it's below 3 and it's a matter of urgency, the shortest lead time, and create the delivery order and order accordingly. So through using BIT's intelligent workflow rules, Profiler allows you to integrate disparate processes together without manual intervention. Being built upon IBMI's inherent triggers, you can apply logics to events that will launch actions depending upon values and variables, and cascade rules to build powerful processes and streamline automations. These in turn will remove input errors and improve efficiencies through processes that work 24/7 each and every day of the year. So Proactive is an extremely powerful, multifaceted workflow solution, but when you combine these with RouteOne, iRoute, and iKeyer, you have the complete automation and integration enterprise suite that's been built from the ground up for the modern IBMI enterprise. RouteOne to free your data with automated IBMI data transformation and distribution, iRoute to integrate external data sources with your IBMI enterprise, iKeyer, the intelligent virtual terminal for automated data entry via 5250 sessions, and Proactive, automating your business processes and workflow without modifying core systems. And we are delighted to have had the opportunity to introduce you to these solutions from Utilities 400 today. I'll conclude by providing a quick introduction to our business partners. Utilities 400 have been servicing the IBMI market for over 20 years, and in that time they've grown from their HQ in Bolton, Lancashire, to offices in the USA and Australia too, and are the largest independent software vendor dedicated to developing robust solutions for the IBMI based in the UK. As a result of being designed by people who really understand the problems faced by the modern IBMI enterprise, each product has been built with multimodal operations, offering feature-rich answers to the perennial problems of data integration and automation. Thank you for joining me today. We'll now have a short Q&A session before bringing this to a close. Let me just click over there. And one question I have is plans to include API web services functionality to the suite. I believe they are in the roadmap. They're not within the solution right now, not certainly within these solutions. Within the proximity suite, there are products that allow you to do API web services. So perhaps we can talk about that in a little bit more detail offline, but certainly there is that. Can I send spreadsheets both dynamically and automated on a daily basis? Yes, we can do this using RouteOne. And I have weekly part spreadsheet that I currently rekey into the database. Which one of these solutions will help? Well, yes, these solutions are geared around automating data entry and integration. For this particular scenario, if you wanted to, you would probably pass that information from the spreadsheet to the AS400 using iRoute, and then allow either automatically using iRoute, pass that information using its rules engine, or alternatively use iKeyer to key in via the 5250 session. That would be entirely up to yourselves. Are these products available now? Indeed they are. In fact, RouteOne, being the perhaps the most mature product, has been in the marketplace now for over 15 years. Infor themselves have used it to create, for if you buy their business intelligence solution, they use it for creating their data warehouses. Reading data from an email, does it need to be a constant format, or can it deduce where the data is in the email? A little bit of mix of both, really. It depends what we're talking about with the email. If it's in the body of the email, normally we can, within iRoute, we can give parameters. So within these 4 spaces, look for the first digit being this, or the first 2 digits being AB, for example. Now, this also applies for searching for strings within the subject line. So we can be always looking at the emails, and we would say, well, we're looking at a particular email from sales@companyname.co.uk, and then leave it at that. And if any attachment is part of that email, then we extract it and use the rules accordingly. Or we can say, if we've received an email from this particular email address and has an attachment which is of an extension of XLS, and the subject string begins with order, then we can add all these different parameters for rules we can set up to be able to do your extract procedures. So yes, it can deduce where the email is, but most reliably we'd be doing that within a structured format. So it would be sending not the order as part of the body of the email, but as an attachment so it would be in a spreadsheet, a CSV, a text file. And as long as we can read that and it's in a relatively structured way, we can process it. So for customers to email orders, we need them to format it in a certain way. Yes, that would be preferable, because it would remove the any errors. But you could set up, as I said, various strings to add variables in. So it would look for instances where things fall outside of the normal parameters. So we'd be looking at the first 2 lines, for example. We would probably say, I don't know, hi Dave, here's an order. that may change upon the day, or good morning. So we can add variables into that, but always best if we can say, if they can use a particular email address, or if not a particular email address, a subject string, or a particular wording convention for the attachment that they're going to add to that. But yes, all those things are possible. That's all the questions I have here, and I would like to take this opportunity of thanking you for your time and attention today in this past half an hour to introduce you to the products from the Utilities 400 Enterprise Suite. Should you have any questions, then please do contact me at andy.nicholson@proximity.co.uk. And I would be more than happy to answer any more questions offline. Now, this webinar has been recorded, so should you wish to review any of these elements, then you can go back on the recording. This should be out with you within the next day. There are further webinars coming up on modernization and other subjects too, which we believe will be of interest to our customers and the IBM community at whole. So please do keep an eye out for those. One final thing I wanted to say, but it completely eludes me now. But so what I will say is thank you very much again for joining us. And I do wish you a very good day, and I look forward to speaking with you. Many thanks and goodbye.